Many years ago, I was Facebook friends with a lady that originated from South Africa. We had been Facebook friends for a while. We would chat back and forth periodically, and we were on good terms. We had some things in common because I had been over into Africa a couple of times, not to South Africa, but I had been over into the continent a couple of times. And so we could kind of talk about certain things because of that. One day she sent me a message asking me to help her. And I was like, how do you want me to help you? And she told me that she was planning to get a visa to come over into the United States. And she was going to have her baby in the United States. And she asked if she could stay with me. At the time, I was living in a micro studio. So I had just enough room for myself, not for another person, and not for no baby, right? So I asked her why she was coming to the US to have her baby. It didn't make sense to me. And she said that she wanted to come and she wanted to have her baby in the US. And I said, are you having some type of a medical problem that can't be addressed in your country? And she said, no, I just want to come to the US and have my baby there. And I asked her, I said, aren't you married? And she said, yes. And I said, well, what does your husband have to say about this? I said, is dude okay with you going across the ocean to have a baby and he's not going to be there? And she goes, well, we discussed it and we agreed to this. And I said, I said, okay, so what about your family? Because in African culture, the birth of a baby, especially the first grandchild, is a very special, very important thing, especially for the grandmothers. They want to be there and do all the things that they do according to their custom and culture. Is very, very important to them. And I said, well, what is your family thinking about this? Because I understand in African cultures, the birth of a baby, that's a huge thing. And she said that she simply wanted to come to the US. So at that point, I realized that she thought that if she came to the US and she had the baby, that the baby would have automatic American citizenship. And I tried talking to her. I said, look, I don't know what your understanding of any of this is. I said, but you coming over to the United States, you're a non-citizen. And then you come and you put yourself in the hands of medical professionals and in a country that has an issue with us in the first place. I told her, I said, you might not get the kind of medical care that you need, that the baby needs, because they don't look at us the same way in medical situations and in any type of situation. And she's like, well, I have the best care. I'll have the best care. And I said, that might not be the case. And then I said, and also, you would be over here by yourself. I said, a foreigner. I said, when in a situation where there's nobody here that loves you, that cares about you, that cares about your baby, that loves that baby, that wants that baby. I said, and you're putting yourself in the hands of strangers. And she's like, well, I want to come. I want to come. And I said, how do you know that someone won't take the baby? Because some have come over here, tried to do that anchor baby stuff, and it backfired on them. They ended up losing their children and ended up having to go back to their home countries without anything. Now they're doing all this stuff with Trump now and birthright rights and citizenships and all of this other stuff. Y'all stay where you are at and have your babies there and leave America alone. Because America is not for everybody and everybody is not for America. Okay? Have a good day.